Uvacha tata jamata Tavesha Bhrigunandanaha Evam Bruvanam Pitaram Smayamana Shuchismata Uvacha tata jamata Tavesha Bhrigunandanaha. Ladies, please. Evam, in this way, Bruvanam, who was stalking and chastising her, Pitaram, unto her father, Smayamana, smiling, because she was chaste, Shuchi Smita, laughingly, Uvacha, replied, Tata, O my dear father, Jamata, son-in-law, Tava, your, Esha, this young man, Bhrigunandanaha, is Chavanamuni and no one else. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sukanya, however, being very proud of her chastity, smiled upon hearing the rebukes of her father. She smilingly told him, My dear father, this young man by my side is your actual son-in-law, the great sage Chavana, who was born in the family of Bhrigu. Purport. Although the father chastised the daughter, assuming that she had accepted another husband, the daughter knew that she was completely honest and chaste, and therefore she was smiling. When she explained that her husband Chavanamuni had now been transformed into a young man, she was very proud of her chastity, and thus she smiled as she talked with her father. End of purport. Text 23. Thus Sukanya explained how her husband had received the beautiful body of a young man. When the king heard this, he was very surprised, and in great pleasure he embraced his beloved daughter. My request is, whoever is making the sections, that the purport has some more substance than she smiled at her father and he embraced her. There's no purport to speak on. For those of us who are going through this section of the Bhagavatam, Uh, there are some important lessons which we'll hear about, and then we'll take our attention to the festival that we're celebrating today, the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev. Okay. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Nrsimhaya Namaste Jase Avir Bhava Vajjanakha Vajjadramshra Karmasayam Randhaya Tamo Grasa Om Swaha Abhayamatmani Bhuyishta Om Kshram Swasti Astu Vishwasya Khalaprasidadam Dhyayam Tu Bhutani Shivam Mito Dhyat Manasya Bhadram Bhajata Tadhokshaje Aveshatam No Matirapi Ahetuki. Chavana Muni, by his name, the word Chavana means one who never experiences deterioration. Because in Sanskrit, Tattenash Chavantite, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th chapter. Chavanti means to degrade and fall. So Chavana means one who never degrades. So although he was underground meditating, his yogic power was so strong that his eyes were shining. And as we have heard, the curiosity of a young girl, that she is very curious what those shining globules are. Is it saying in English, curiosity killed the cat? So her curiosity, she went and poked those two globules. You know the story, and then blood oozed out, and everyone became constipated. They could not pass urine or stool, and it was very uncomfortable. And they were figuring out, why is everyone feeling like this? And they figured out it was Chavana Muni underground. So he came out angrily. And King Sharyati, he didn't know how to beg for forgiveness. And in his seeking of forgiveness, he said, I'm very, very sorry. It was my young daughter who did this. Here's what I can do. I can give her to you in marriage. Will that please you? And so it pacified Chavana Muni. But Sukanya turned out to be a very fascinating wife for Chavana Muni. Although he was very grumpy, extremely grumpy, she was just fantastic. In fact, almost as if she's a misfit for him. She's so good that he's not good enough for her. As the story continues, and then he one day realizes, my gosh, she's very amazing. And he blesses her. And the Ashwini Kumaras, they also come and they say, we have a deal. If you give us Soma Rasa, we'll turn your body into a very nice, angelic, young, muscular, ripped body. So they have a deal. And he also thinks, I'm old and she's very young. So they take him into this celestial pond where he takes a dip and it comes out really, I wish it was that easy, right? And then he gives them the Somarasa and they're very happy. King Sharyati comes to meet his daughter. And for a moment he's taken aback that when he had left, the son-in-law was this old guy, all body, emaciated by yogic performances. And when he comes back, there's another man in the house, and this girl is giggling and laughing and smiling and serving him, and he's like very upset. What is this? What is wrong with my daughter? She's being unchaste. And so he rebukes her. In those days, they used to rebuke. So then, instead of feeling ashamed and bowing her head low or hanging her head in shame, Sukanya is smiling. In fact, it says she is laughing. Shuchi Smita. Smita means to smile. So Krishna is called Smita Krishna because Krishna is always smiling. We never see Krishna serious. The devotees become serious. Krishna is always smiling. So he's called Smita Krishna. And so Shuchi Smita, she was laughing. She was laughing because her father didn't know what was going on. And she says, no. Uvacha, so she speaks, Tata, oh my dear father. Tata is a phrase that comes up in Bhagavatam again and again. It's a word of endearment. You know how we say to someone, my dear, or oh my dear Prabhu, or whatever the words of endearment we use. So in this case, Tata, she's addressing her father, oh my dear father. Jamata. Jamata is this is son-in-law. He says, this is Esha Jamata. This is your son-in-law. Esha Tava Esha Jamata. This is no one but your son-in-law. Bhrigunandana. He is Chavana Muni, who is a descendant of the great sage Bhrigu. So don't be confused. It's just that he's been going to the gym quite a bit lately. Is Chavana Muni only. Oh, really? That's very nice. So, although she was being chastised by the superior, she knew that she hadn't done anything wrong. And so, when Sukanya explained, even the king was very happy. Oh, very nice. Finally, Chavana Muni doesn't, sometimes, I don't know if you've seen, especially I've seen it in India, and it happens in the Middle East as well. Some very old guys marry some very young women. Have you seen pictures of that? This guy's, 1 foot in the grave, ready to go, and she's only about 18 or 16, sometimes even 14, 15, and you wonder what's going on. So he has given a lot of dowry to get the girl, and the mismatch is just like so starkly obvious. But yet, anyway, in this case also, the mismatch is very obvious. Chavana Muni is, in fact, you'll hear, you know how old Chavana Muni is? He's one of those sages who's been meditating for thousands of years. And Sukanya is very young. And Chavana Muni comes back again in the 10th canto. Not necessarily as in a pastime, but his name is mentioned. His name is mentioned multiple times. When Krishna visits Shrutadeva and Bahulashva, Krishna goes with a retinue. All the great sages are with Krishna on his chariot. Vyasa, Devala, Asita, etc. And Chavana Muni is also there. He's one of Krishna's retinue. He goes and has lunch in 2 different places at the same time along with Krishna. So this Chavana Muni is not an ordinary person. These are great sages who can be underground and meditate for thousands of years, keeping their mind focused on the Paramatma. So he becomes part of Krishna's retinue. So, but as a father, King Sharyati was always concerned. Oh, she's very young. She's after all from a royal family. And Chavana Muni is a sage living in a hermitage. Hardly any facilities, hardly any great royal things, not even a decent bathroom, if you will. However, just to take a bath in the river, eat fruits, eat simple vegetables, walk on the ground, sleep on the floor, inside a river is very inconvenient. Yet, he knows that Chavana Muni is a great sage. So the whole purport of the story is the potency of that the wife takes on, or the potency that a wife has in transforming her husband. It's a very great quality. In fact, I'm going to transition from this topic soon. In fact, within a Grahastha ashram, it is said that the wife is more powerful than the husband. Although the husband is considered to be the leader, if you will, it's the wife who has the strength to control her husband. In a nice way, not like in a... I mean, today I'm not in the mode of joking about wife and husband. I'll tell you many jokes some other day. But the wife has the power to make sure that the husband progresses very well. On his own, it may not be easy. But it is her chastity, her prayers, and her support by which the husband actually progresses. So she holds although she is in the background, if you will, she holds the key for the couple to succeed. That's the glorification of Sukanya. More than Chavanamuni, Sukanya is glorified in this section of the Bhagavatam. So that's pretty much the pastime, and a few more things coming up. When Chavanamuni wants to fulfill his part of the deal, he wants to give the rasa, Soma rasa, to the Ashwini Kumaras. They are the physicians of the demigods. Indra is not happy, and he doesn't want it to happen, and there are a few exchanges, but he can't do anything about it. And then the pastime ends, and very quickly we're introduced to Ambarish Maharaj. That's the pastime. But in the Bhagavatam discussion, I'd like to take your attention to Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. This is in the 7th canto, 9th chapter. From verse 8 in the 9th chapter, all the way to verse 45. So that's about 36 or 37 verses of fantastic glorification of Nrsimhadev. In fact, as the ashram residents, if you have the time, it'll be worthwhile taking the Bhagavatam and just reciting those verses and reading the translations. You will find, or we will find, that there is a very fantastic pattern and a very fantastic thesis in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. Why he prays and how he does them. They follow a very super sequence. A few years ago, we started in the evenings on the phone, Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. And each verse took us about an hour or more. We didn't finish, unfortunately, because at that time I was taking care of my father. And each day we were unsure how things will be. Maybe he was ailing. But I used to read these verses for him. And it brought about a very big transformation for him. He became a big Nrsimhadev fan till the last minute that he passed away. Which in our house we never worshipped Nrsimhadev. But those last few months made a big difference in his life. Every place in our house was Nrsimhadev, pictures of Nrsimhadev in Mayapur. The songs, the verses were all about Nrsimhadev. It came from these prayers. So we'll discuss a few verses, and then I hope that we will continue the rest of the day whenever we have time. So this is verse 8. I won't explain every of the verse. I have one particular verse for focus this morning, but we'll see how it goes. So Shri Prahlada Uvacha, this is verse 8 from chapter 9. Brahmadaya suragana munayotha siddhaha satvaikanta gatayo vachasam pravahe naradhitum purugane adhunapi pipro kim toshtumarhati same harir ugrajate. Prahlad Maharaj prayed, how is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even until now, all the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words, although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness. Then what is to be said of me? I am not at all qualified. So that is why he is qualified. And he says, Kim toshtum arhati me harir ugrajate. Ugrajati means I've been born in a very passionate family. You've heard the word ugra somewhere? Ugra. Prabhupada used the word ugra karma, or Nrsingadev in Mayapur is called Ugra Narsimha. Ugra means very passionate, very like that. So he says, I've been born in such a family where everything is filled with passion. Passion means selfish. And all these great sages and all the demigods who are emblems of goodness, they have spoken vachasam pravahe. Pravaha means to flow. If you notice, when we come to Krishna and we have to offer prayers, our words don't flow. It is something we have to work hard at. But when our feelings are intense for anyone or for Krishna, then the words flow. They naturally flow. Our words naturally flow to that object of our attraction. When it comes to Krishna, maybe we're not so attracted, so the words don't flow. But if it is about a gadget or something that is very attractive to us, we can keep on shloka after shloka about this. We can do a stuti. Right? You've seen people, if they like something or someone, they can keep on speaking as if it were a flow. So he's saying these demigods have spoken with a flow. And even that hasn't pleased the Lord. Then what to speak of me? I come from a very horrible family. I cannot say anything. And then he says, why? It's a very wonderful verse. He lists 12 qualities that someone may have, and yet Krishna is not attracted by them. Manye dhana abhijana rupa tapa shruta aujasa teja prabhava bala paurusha buddhi yoga naradhanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumsha bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayuta paya. He says a person, there you go. Prahlad Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. He didn't say or, okay? One may possess all of these. Some of us may have some of these, one of these, and in minute quantity. Someone may have all of these. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. So nothing material can attract the attention of Krishna. Only devotional service. And then he says, one may be qualified. He's giving an example. Viprat dvishad gunayutat aravinda nabha padaravinda vimukhat swapacham varishtam. I mean, this is a slap at the face of the Brahmins. Okay? He says there might be a Brahmana, Vipra, dvishad gunayutat. He may have 12 qualities Generally, when a Brahman has all these 12 qualities, they considered super. He said a Brahmana decorated with these 12 qualities may not be as good as a dog eater. Shvapacham varishtam. A dog eater is better. If the Brahmana vimukhad, if the Brahmana has his attention away from the lotus feet of your lordship. But if a dog eater who has a very horrible occupation, he has some devotional service, then he can purify his entire family. If a Brahmana has all 12 of the Brahmanical qualifications, but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than such a Brahmana, because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called Brahmana in a position of false prestige cannot purify even himself. And this is the verse I want to speak on, text 11. Naivatmana prabhur ayam nijalabha purna manam janad avidusha karuno vranite yad yad jano bhagavate vidadhita manam tachatmane patimukhasya yatha mukha shri. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee. For the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. So when someone decorates their face, we see the reflection also decorated. When someone serves Krishna and makes Krishna happy, then the reflection, because we are all considered parts and parcel or reflections of the Lord, then we find our happiness there. But if we decorate only the reflection in the mirror, right? That's not substantial. There's no decoration, because as soon as the face moves, all the decoration will be skewed a little bit, right? So Prahlad Maharaj gives the example that when you beautify the object, the reflection is also beautified. And this is something he's remembering, that what can I glorify the Lord? The Lord doesn't need glorification to satisfy his ego. He is full in himself. Sometimes we need someone's acknowledgement. We need someone's words of acceptance. We need them to pat us on the back. We need them to say something to us, because when they don't, we feel a sense of voidness, emptiness. And so others' words and glorification, acknowledgement, appreciation, these things give us a sense of fulfillment. But if a person is already fulfilled completely, there's nothing to aspire from anything or anyone outside, then whether someone glorifies or does not glorify, it is irrelevant to them. In fact, if they're so full, they're called Atma Rama. Atma Arama. That means that the soul is completely blissful. If a person is blissful like that, when someone glorifies, it's almost painful for them. They don't want to hear it. Therefore, natural, you see, those who are full with humility, when they're glorified, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would close his ears and say, Vishnu, 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 and jump in the Ganges. Because it's not necessary for him. They're not fulfilled by something or someone extraneous. They feel satisfied. So here he's saying, Lord Nrsingadev, you're complete with all the 6 qualities in fullness. So you don't need anything from anyone. So Mayavadis will take this and say, therefore we don't serve him. This is part of the whole thing about the Mayavadis. That they say, what is the reason for serving the completely satisfied Supreme? Why do you have to serve? If someone's not hungry, why do you have to serve them food? If someone's not thirsty, why do you have to serve them water? Right? We dress this whole idea of dressing the deities, offering a foodstuff, water, chamara, as if the God is feeling warm. You have to condition the air around him for him. Oh, he's hungry, you have to take food. What is that? This is all sentimental or very immature. What do you serve the person, the Brahman is all complete. What do you have to do anything? That's their argument. And Prahlad Maharaj says, no, the Supreme Personality feels hungry, not because he's hungry, because that is his sense of, or the opportunity for reciprocation with his devotees. Have you ever eaten, even when you're full, because someone is offering to you with love? Ever had that experience? You've eaten, you're full, but someone says, please, please. Or you're not following a particular diet, but someone made something for you and they want you to eat. Sometimes you might say, sorry, I can't eat. But most of the times we'll say, yeah, thank you, I want. The love is very compelling. I want to reciprocate, although I may not need it. Right? Ever happen? Yeah. That's, of course, ours is only a mustard seed worth of reciprocation, but the Lord is like that. In some places, he eats 56 times a day. This is the argument Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya was invited to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. And he had created a separate room on the side of the kitchen to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he didn't want others to look and see how much Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is eating and then say, oh, sannyasi, look at how much he's eating. It's not proper. So he was given a quiet room and he served many, many dishes. And he would serve large quantities. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat every dish that was prepared, but he would leave a little quantity on the leaf. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked, why are you leaving? And because as soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat some quantity, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya would serve even more. And I don't know if you've seen, I shouldn't say Indian hospitality, but at that time at least the Vedic hospitality is, we don't take no for an answer. They keep on serving and you say, no, 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 shh, eat some more, eat some more, eat some more. Okay? Because it's the host's expression that you should eat a lot more. You should eat so much that you cannot move from here. So he kept on serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he would leave portions of that dish on the leaf. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, why are you leaving some behind? He said, it's evidence that I've eaten that dish. Because if I eat the whole thing, you will say, oh, you didn't have the potato sabji at all. It's not there. So this is to show you I've eaten that item. And he said, sir, you can't feed me like this. I'm a sannyasi. What do you expect? How can I eat all this quantity? And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's argument was, hey, don't give me this argument. In Jagannath temple, you're eating 56 times a day. Large quantities. So you can eat here also. Because there you're, 56 times. Have you seen how they're offered in Jagannath Puri? They take these pots of rice that are this big, and I don't know how they make the rice so white, but it has this cones on top because it's brimming with rice and vegetables and sweet rice and oh my gosh, the whole variety of things cooked in wonderful ghee. And ghee is one thing, if you eat food cooked in ghee, after some time you feel full. But Lord Jagannath's 56 times, as soon as they remove an offering, the next batch of offering comes. And they make an offering, ting, 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 they ring a bell. Lord Jagannath, as soon as he finishes, the next batch comes in. It is just constant, 56 times a day. And not like, we offer 6 small cups. It's not like that. Like massive quantities. And Jagannath never feels tired or, not today, or I have indigestion. Nothing. It keeps on. It's going on and on and on for thousands of years. Why? Because that's the love. It's the love with which it's offered and the love with which he accepts it. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that actually, when we offer service to you, Nrsingadev, you don't need the service. It is for our benefit. It is for us. It purifies our heart and consciousness. It brings us closer and closer to our constitutional position. Because when we don't serve, we step outside our constitutional position into the enjoyer mode. That's the position of Krishna. Service or servant position is ours. So in this world, as conditioned souls, we are in an artificial position as enjoyers. And those who are in artificial position, naturally they are unstable. Right? Anything artificial is unstable. Anything natural is stable. That's when things are in harmony, they're in equilibrium, they're in their perfect state. Anything artificial is unstable. And it creates instability as well. That's why when we eat foods that are natural, we feel stable. When we eat foods that are artificial, we're unstable. It's very simple logic. Anything that's artificial is unstable and creates instability. So when every conditioned entity is in this state of artificiality, then amongst themselves they create even more instability. Because being the enjoyer is an unstable position for us. So Srila Prabhupada, following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, has designed for us, as given by our acharyas, a way for us to move to our natural position. Because in natural position, we are stable. Or we become stable, should we put it that way. And that stability is the position of a servant. So what brings us from this artificial, unstable position to natural, stable position? It's devotional service. Actually, it is the mercy of the Lord. But the mercy of the Lord is experienced through devotional service. In Prabhupada makes a quote that an immature devotee in the beginning of their Krishna consciousness thinks that his or her progress has come about because of their execution of bhakti. Hey, I'm chanting, I'm reading, I'm serving, that's why I'm progressing. When they mature a little bit more, they understand that progress is not because of them, but it is because of the process of devotional service. The process itself is the means by which I'm progressing. It's not my execution of it. I'm just staying on course. It's bhakti that is taking me forward. And the person who matures even more, they understand that is actually Krishna's mercy by which I'm advancing. So here, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that by serving you, I'm also benefited. That's just how it works. So my benefit is that I'm there. I may not be, because he previously said that there is a Brahmana who may be qualified with all the wonderful 12 qualities, but if he's not a devotee, then he's no better than any ordinary person, versus A person who's born in a dog eater's family, very unqualified, but if he's a devotee, he's far superior than that Brahmin. But what makes that dog eater superior? It's the service or the service attitude. So he's telling Nrsimhadev that by devotional service unto you, everyone becomes benefited. Sometimes we think, oh, when I'm serving such a person, only they're getting the benefit. Because in the material world, that is how it is. Only the person being served is getting the benefit. And the person being served exploits service from the others. But in the case of devotional service, the intention of serving Krishna, we can't say benefits Krishna, but that's the view of the devotee, that Krishna is the beneficiary of my service. But Krishna is such that he returns it back in full. He returns all the benefit back to his devotee. That's why when we offer plates of bhoga, just in a practical way, Krishna eats it, but he also returns it back. Because if he were to eat it every day, one day if he eats it, let's say we go and make an offering and the plate is empty, we're all like thrilled. Wow, Krishna ate. But if he does it every day, and we're like, what am I going to eat? So he returns it. He eats it and he returns it back in full. For our, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, for our happiness of heart. So that's the foundation of devotional service. That by serving Nrsimhadev or Kishore Kishori, we are benefited. As simply as when they decorate the face, the reflection is already decorated. This is one of my favorite verses. I mean, there are others also that are my favorites, but this is one of my favorites. So, any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, bro. Thank you for your class. Well, first of all, I just wanted to appreciate that example because that's a really good example. I'm going to have to steal that where you said, because it brought new highlights to that verse where the reflection, if we just decorate the mirror, then we're not decorated. So I thought that was a very good example. But you mentioned Krishna's known as Smriti Krishna.
Smita.
Smita. Is that in his verse, that word?
Well, she says, Shuchi Smita.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Because you said Krishna's always smiling. So presumably Krishna's smiling because he's the supreme controller. Everything goes his way. And we're not smiling because sometimes things go our way and sometimes not. So my question is that how do we keep a smile on our face when things don't go our way, when we realize we're not Krishna?
Things don't go Krishna's way either. There are many pastimes where things don't go Krishna's way. The Shyamantaka jewel was taken away and he was accused. It was not going his way. And then he had to go to the forest to find it and bring it back. When Arjuna was being harassed on the battlefield, I mean, we can say after all, it's all Krishna's orchestration, but it was not going his way necessarily. When Krishna wants to meet the gopis and they have put up resistance, in fact, they tell him, get out of here, don't come back. During the Man Leela of Srimati Radharani, and then he has Lalita checking him, no entry. Things are not going his way. Of course, they're enhancing his pastimes, we do see that way. But Krishna never loses his smile. Because after all, he doesn't think, I'm the controller, therefore I'm smiling. But the reason we lose our smile, or we lose our happiness, state of happiness, the Sat Chit Ananda entity becomes Asat, Achit and Nirananda, is because of bodily identification. Our sense of, this was the Sunday feast class, Our sense of happiness and distress is very material. Anything material, we smile at. Anything spiritual, we grimace at. It's like, oh, seva, oh, or oh, however. But it's the other way around. So the material situation is a perverted reflection. So having a smile, not having a smile, depends upon the body and mind condition primarily. In fact, if you're always smiling, then people will think there's something wrong with us. But for a spiritually, right, it's like, what's wrong with this person? But for a spiritually centered person, always that's okay. There's one pastime where Prabhupada was not smiling. You know that? So there's one photo of Prabhupada where Prabhupada was very grim looking. So Brahmananda Prabhu asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you look very grave in this situation. Something was disturbing you? Prabhupada said, no, actually there was a moment of ecstasy. So the idea is if one goes beyond the bodily conception, then there's nothing to be happy or distressed about. One is always blissful. So how do we make an attempt to... So to make an attempt to go beyond the bodily condition, yes, we cannot artificially say I am self-realized, okay? Because that statement will be checked in the next millisecond. But when we are going through some physical and mental distress, which is all the time, it is important for us to take our attention to, I am not this body. Even thinking like that brings a sense of relief. When we're going through something physical or mental, even considering for a moment, I'm feeling all this because I think I am this body. But if I'm not this body, I would not be having these. I'll be free of it. So considering one's constitutional nature helps bring relief from that situation. But to consider that, we have to remember that. We remember we are not this body before we are in distressful condition. We remember we are not this body after we come out of the distressful situation. But when we are in it, that's when we forget. Because it's when we are experiencing that distress, that is the recognition that is when my bodily conception is at its peak. I'm actually identifying with the body, and therefore, that is how I'm feeling. Before that, I'm sure in our class, whoever we're preaching to, we happily tell them we're not this body, myself included. And after it, we say, after all, I was not the body, or however we say. But it's at that moment. We call it the moment of truth. M-O-T. Acharya Nishchay Prabhu, something?
Thank you, Prabhu. Today's verse is describing how Sukanya was smiling because she was chaste and honest. So, acting on the platform of dharma, morality, I was wondering if you could explore a little bit the connection between morality and bhakti, because sometimes it's been described, I've heard a nice description that morality is like purifying the field before you plant seeds for some type of crop. So without a strong moral foundation, how does that affect development of bhakti? And how is bhakti related with morality, or sometimes even transcending morality?
The 4 regulative principles that we follow, they're not spiritual. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. They're not spiritual per se. They're moral, or they're the pillars of morality. And on these pillars, on this foundation, we also take other vows to chant Hare Krishna and follow Prabhupada's teachings. On a continuum, morality, ethics, and spirituality. That's the development. They can be persons who are extremely moral, who can be free of meat eating, free of illicit sex, free of gambling, free of intoxication, but may not be devotees of the Lord. They can be atheistic as well. Okay? And their sense of morality doesn't come because it is from scripture. It is their sense of, hey, that's the right thing to do. So morality can come from anywhere, but if it comes from scripture, then there is more grounding in it. Another thing about morality is because it is material, it is transient. It can change. It can change from 1 year to another year. It can change from one generation to another generation. It can change by a group of persons deciding this is okay, that's not okay. Okay? Ideally, morality has to come from scripture. But we find, actually in this canto, after this section of discussion of Nrsingadev's pastimes, Narada Muni is speaking to Yudhishthir Maharaj, sorry. And the last 3 chapters are about morality, Varnashrama system and all that. And I think it's in the 12th chapter where Narada Muni describes the different varieties of dharma. There is what he calls actual dharma, that is referred to from scripture, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Then he says that there is Chala dharma, there is Upadharma, there is Adharma, or there are these categories of Adharma that also look like dharma. And he says, gives a classification, when is it this kind, when is it that kind, when is it this way, this type, that type. But they all look like that. And in nowadays, it's very easy for a group of people to get together and come up with some codes of behavior. So morality ideally is the codes of behavior that are more on the grosser side of things, meaning on the gross platform of body. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not covet, treat thy neighbor like yourself. I don't know all the 10, but you get the idea. They are primarily to do with the body. Don't steal, don't do this. Then, subtler than those are codes that deal with the mind and intelligence. Ethics come to the value system. Right? That the reason you steal is because something else is not holding you as a value. So, body, mind and intelligence, then there has to be something deeper than that. Indrani parani ahur, indrebhya param manaha, manastu tasmat paro buddhi, buddhe tu parata tu saha. So bhakti, the principles of bhakti deal with the soul. And because the soul is within a body, it manifests as morality and ethics. But they are deeper than just morality and ethics per se. So without these, without morality and ethics, it's difficult. Because one may, let's say someone itself is incomplete, that one may have feelings of bhakti, but their behavior is immoral. How is that possible? So we see it as a continuum. The one can be moral, but doesn't have to be a devotee. One can have a sense of ethics, but doesn't have to be a devotee. But one who's a devotee will automatically be ethical and moral. Now, in very rare cases, one may transcend or even violate morality or ethics in service to Krishna. Very rare. Unless it is unless it is specifically instructed by the Guru or by Krishna. Scriptures will not say. Then one may violate it. And in fact, at such time, not following that instruction actually may preserve morality but will hurt bhakti. Case in point is when in the Mahabharata war, Krishna specifically asked Yudhishthira Maharaj, or sanctioned the speaking of a lie. That unless Ashwatthama dies, Dronacharya is not going to give up his weapons. He's very formidable. In fact, he's everyone's teacher here, so he's far superior. And the only way Dronacharya would let go of just drop his weapons, is if he's told that Ashwatthama is dead. And Krishna sanctioned, yeah, go ahead, do it. And they all said, no. Yudhishthira Maharaj said, how can I? I cannot say. I'm known as Dharmaraj. Dharmaraja, the guy, the king of holding on morale, the best of them. So they made a compromise. We'll say that Ashwatthama, the elephant, is dead. And when Yudhishthira Maharaj said, Ashwatthama, the elephant, they blew the corn. Poo! So Dronacharya only heard, Ashwatthama is dead. They were thinking very quickly at that time. Or when Arjuna said, by tomorrow evening I will kill Jayadratha. If I don't kill him, I will enter fire and kill myself. And suddenly it was sunset. It was a fantastic pastime. I'm skipping through the details. It's very fascinating. You know the story, Tyree? It's 8:30, so unfortunately you won't know the story. It was sunset. That's not dharmic. Even Suryadev was confused, like, what's going on? It was sunset. Jayadratha was killed. Arjuna was saved. And suddenly again it was sunrise. The sun was not set. It was Krishna's trick. One might say it's not moral. So there are many things that Krishna did that may seem, stealing of the garments of the gopis. Is it moral? Is it really okay? Etc., etc. So I see it as a continuum and as a progressive from gross to the soul level. Go ahead.
Thank you. My only question then, when we talk about morality, I guess I'm thinking more in terms of, I don't know if you would say absolute morality, or Prabhupada always says, Dharman tu sakshat bhagavan pranitam. That we can create morale, like you said, people can come together and form morality. But I guess I'm referring more to, there is it seems like a static moral codes of governance for human beings.
So that's called varnashram, that when according to one's qualities and occupation, one has certain code to follow. And the idea is that one who follows those codes is on the path to progressing from external to internal. Take our situation. We come to the process of bhakti. We follow activities of bhakti. We follow behaviors beginning. The internal parts develop a little later. Although bhakti should be an inside-out process where the service attitude should lead to behavior, we find that our behaviors help become more cultured inside. Right? When we come into the temple, we have some moral codes. You offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas, to Guru and the deities. These are codes of behavior. We may not feel internally as a servant of Krishna, but we perform those behaviors. And there is no time when we can violate that. Of course, when we are carrying a plate of bhoga, it's not that we have to offer obeisances. It's part of the service, etc. But those come, they're supposed to develop. So varnashram is a system that is helping develop the internal aspects. One may not, one can choose not to also, that's fine, but they may remain external. All right, Premarasa? So I'm not holding anyone from breakfast today, correct?
I heard that those who are grihasthas, they're not supposed to worship Ugra Narasimha. Is that true?
I don't know.
Okay. I was also not sure.
The grihastha should not worship Ugra Narasimha.
Yeah.
Oh, there is enough Ugra at home already. Why you need Narasimhadev for it? There's already enough sparks. Is that why?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know, but they generally say. Go ahead. Here's more educated on it.
I just saw something recently. There was a reference, I don't have the exact quote, but either Srila Prabhupada or somewhere in Acharya or Shastra mentioned that, what's the pacified form of Nrsimhadev called?
Shanta.
Shanta Nrsimha. Is generally worshipped by the grihasthas, whereas the brahmacharis and sannyasis may worship Ugra Nrsimha, because by that worship, it's not recommended for grihasthas because it completely destroys one's material aspiration or one's material progress. So it's recommended for.
I thought because Shanta, because we need the peace at home, and Ugra is so that, to not make sure that the brahmacharis and sannyasis are like peaceful at home. I don't need to go anywhere. Ugra is like, keep going. I think my humorous answer is better. I'm just kidding. I don't know the answer, but I'm sure it makes sense. Enough sparks already, so why do we need more? Okay. Narasimhadev. Oh, you have something, Mataji? Oh, okay. Here's usually the tough question.
The fact that the king took it at face value that he was seeing his daughter with a young man and immediately jumped to a conclusion seems to me a little odd from the point of view that she obviously must have been grounded in morals, ethics, transcendental knowledge, and she dealt with it very well, it seems, because there's a kind of accusation in some sense from the king. So I was just wondering why the king would have taken it so completely at face value, what he was seeing.
Versus pulled his daughter to the side and said, "What's up? Who's this guy?"
Well, versus assuming that his daughter, was very much a person of high character, and so not jumping to a conclusion based on what he was seeing. So perhaps, asking, taking into account his knowledge of her and then posing the question prior to jumping to a conclusion about her character.
Well, I would think of many situations. So first is, it is his own daughter. So he has the liberty to, chastise her or say things. That's first. Second, it's a time where, where these things are more like, where we ask questions and wonder what's going on, not take things at face value. Because in the modern context, nothing should surprise us. And because anything could be possible. The gray is a lot more now. Previously, the gray area is not so much. It's only a thin slice here and there. He could have. With just the previous pastime of Prishadra, Vasishta could have asked, what happened? I know it was night time. I'm sure you couldn't see. He just cursed him to be a Shudra. More is coming later in this canto, I think. Yeah, in this canto. I had said the other day, prepare to be shocked. More is coming when one king falls in love with Urvashi and something else happens. And the point is not so much he could have asked clarification. We can ask Sharyati, what's up, man? Why didn't you get clarification? But I said as the gray areas were less. And for him, the idea that I could just say, Mataji, I don't know, and end it, but I'm dealing with it. That because he's very confident of her moral or her character, that something out of character is surprising for him. It's as simple as that. When Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita says to Krishna, I am not going to fight this, Krishna chastises him, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam. So Krishna actually calls him foolish. You're speaking like a... So one may say they're friends. Krishna could have said, let's sit down, let's go through a counseling session. Please tell me how you're feeling. And then, validated his feelings, had a little discussion. It's not like chastised him, you're speaking like a fool. Because when persons act out of character, then whoever is the observer is surprised. It's more like that. What is acting in character in the modern context, like I said, is full of gray area. So in that sense, actually he's calling out his daughter and asking her, what's going on? This is so out of character. It's not wrong. It also shows that the transformation that the Ashwini Kumaras brought about in Chavana Muni was quite radical. It was completely unrecognizable, etc. So as a father, because of his relationship, it doesn't seem... notice that she also didn't respond with, why are you misunderstanding me? Why are you treating me like this? Do you think I'm really so... She thinks of it as a humorous incident. She didn't take it in a bad way either. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Viprati Shatkunayutat Aravindanabha Pada